the African Union, the Saika EU, whatever, is coming to South Sudan will not stop anything from us. Why? Because these people, they can come and talk to us and they will go back to their own country and we will remain here in this country. Why not to accept ourselves? And the question is it a South Sudan we were fighting for 21 years? Even those who are competing now for the position of leadership, they were there for 21 years. Is this the reason why they were staying in the bush only to come and kill South Sudanese? Why did you waste your time spending almost 20-something years in the bush while you are not now giving the right thing that you are fighting for? Because leadership is one of them, but services delivery is supposed to be number one. South Sudanese are running away, some are sleeping in the bushes, the rest are in POCs, the rest are now in camps in different countries. Why? This is not the case. You were fighting for all the people of South Sudan to be free in their country and be like the rest.
Sounds of the Week on iRadio, your eye on South Sudan. Live from Juba, on air and online.
This is iRadio News.
Hello, this is iRadio News. First, here are the headlines. Clashes between armed youth in Mayom and Abiam Nom, counties of Unity State and the Ruweng administrative area, have resulted in the deaths of more than 30 people. A political analyst has warned that South Sudan risks sliding back into conflict if leaders fail to cooperate with the African Union Panel of the Wise, which is in Juba to mediate the ongoing political crisis. Kenya's Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary says the country is receiving an average of 20 refugees per day from South Sudan since the escalations of the political tensions and conflict in the country. These stories and more coming to you in this news bulletin with me, Darlington Moses, and now the news in detail. Clashes between armed youth in Mayom and Abiam Nom, counties of Unity State and the Ruweng administrative area, have resulted in the deaths of more than 30 people. In an interview with iRadio today morning, the Commissioner of Abiam Nom County, Mario Deng Ayuot, confirmed the violence. He stated that the fighting between armed youth from the Mayom and Abiam Nom counties left more than 30 people dead due to cattle-related violence. He made the statements from Abiam Nom town today.
امبارح قتلوا ناس كثير مواطنين هجمتهم ده هجمه يعني مدبره ما حاجه يعني ما حاجه بتاع ناس مراهبه وده حاجه مدبره عديل لانه الاتجاه بتاع ابيهم كله قفلوا المنطقه بتاع ابيهم كله ككل والمواطن بقى جاري ما قدر يعني الشكل بقى داير داخل المنطقه شكل داير لمده ساعات هم الناس بتحاول بجاي يجي هنا المهم تصدى كثير وارواح وضحايا مات فوقه. امبارح بالتحديد 26 نفر تم دفنهم في مغابر جماعه هنا في ديانهم. من الاربعه على امبارح وليله صباح هنا خبر برضه في نفرين من الجرحى ماشي توفى برضه في المستشفى بتاعته عليه. يبدو انه نازل ماشيين يزيدوا. والله الوضع مستقر وضع هادي. من امبارح انا قاعد في المنطقه طبعا بيمنا فوق المنطقتين فوق اثنين مقاطعه اورطوا بيمنا من كلنا متواجدين حاليا فالحمد لله القوات يعني جاء قوه بتاعت ديفيجن 4 موجودين معنا حاليا.
In a statement sent by iRadio, Major General James Lily Kwal-Dew, the Commissioner of Mayom County in Unity State, reported that fighting began on Monday. He alleged that cattle raiders reportedly from Abiam Nom attacked a cattle camp and stole hundreds of cattle, which led to the deaths of 4 people. Commissioner Kwal of Mayom County stated that steps are being taken to prevent further escalation. He says authorities have ordered the SSPDF Brigade 11 commander of the 4th Infantry Division to intervene and separate the armed groups from both counties. A political analyst has warned that South Sudan risks sliding back into conflict if leaders fail to cooperate with the African Union Panel of the Wise, which is in Juba to mediate the ongoing political crisis. Andrea March says the country's political situation remains fragile and peace can only be achieved through dialogue and genuine commitment from all parties. He believes the AU delegation is here to support South Sudan's transitions to lasting peace, but their effort will not succeed without political will from the country's leaders.
This is iRadio.
The mission of the African Union panel of respected leaders is to bring peace to South Sudan through dialogue. They want to make sure that South Sudan does not slide back to a full-scale war, because it will be devastating not only on people of South Sudan, but on the entire region of Horn of Africa. And I expect leaders of South Sudan to fully cooperate with the panel of wise for the sake of peace in South Sudan. The mission will fail if there is no cooperation from parties to the peace agreement.
According to March, one of the biggest challenges facing the peace process is the delay in implementing key security mechanisms and arrangements, including the unifications of forces. He warns that failure to finalize security reforms could collapse the peace agreement.
I believe that the entire peace agreement was not signed in good faith, and it was not implemented in good faith. That is why you see people going back to war. There is a need for the parties to de-escalate the tension. One particular thing that needs to be done at the moment is for the parties to engage in a dialogue and to cooperate so that they can finish the remaining tasks in the agreement, especially the issue of unification of forces. It is the backbone of the entire agreement. Collapse of the security arrangements will be the end of the peace process in South Sudan.
March also urges the government to create a conducive environment for free and fair elections, saying the democratic governance is essential for its stability. The African Union panel of the WISE met with President Salva Kiir, and they are expected to meet with opposition leaders and other stakeholders during their visit to discuss the way forward. Kenya's Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary says the country is receiving an average of 20 refugees per day from South Sudan since the escalations of the political tensions and conflict in the country. Musalia Mudavadi told a Senate plenary yesterday that while the crisis continues to worsen, the influx of refugees has also posed security challenges for the country.
The situation in South Sudan is getting worse, and we are beginning to see again another inflow at the rate of about 20 refugees per day. So we are beginning to see certain circumstances that are giving us challenges.
Thousands of South Sudanese who fled the civil conflict that erupted in December 2013 and 2016 have already sought sanctuary in Kakuma and Kalabuye refugee camps. Kenya's Kakuma, Kam and Kalabuye settlement host over 148,000 South Sudanese refugees, one of the largest refugee populations globally. Mudavadi has attributed delays in the implementations of a multi-year initiative aimed at transforming refugee camps in Turkana and Garissa into integrated settlement to ongoing regional crisis.
The issue of Shirika plan, and I want to state that there's still a lot of conversation that is taking place between the government, the UNHCR, and the host communities where the refugees are placed. And specifically, if I talk to Kakuma and Dadaab,
The initiative, known as the Sharika Plan, aims to promote self-reliance and socio-economic inclusion for both refugees and host communities. This is iRadio News. South Sudan Human Rights Defenders Network has called for an inclusive consultations of peace parties in the African Union mediation efforts aimed at ending the political crisis in the country. The African Union panel of the WISE arrived in Juba yesterday and will engage with President Kiir, peace parties and other stakeholders over the next 3 days. The panel seeks to help ease tensions, promote dialogue and push for the full implementations of the peace agreement. Omara Joseph Wani, Protections and Advocacy Officer at the network, says peace can only be achieved when all parties are heard. Advocate Omara says the African Union delegation should also engage President Kiir to release detained officials or initiate due legal process.
We believe that for us to achieve peace at this point, all the parties that are signatories to the peace agreement, the one we call the peace parties, should all be engaged. It's unfortunate that some of the actors in the signatories are already being arrested. Others are really in incarceration. We feel that the AU panel of the WISE should really make sure that that these political actors are released. They should really engage, because we don't see that it serves any relevance in terms of implementing the agreement.
Omara has called for inclusions of the views of civil society groups in the ongoing mediation. He says the civil society played an integral role in negotiating the 2018 peace agreement and amplified the voices of the indigenous populations. The economic cluster under Vice President Benjamin Bolmel has reaffirmed the government's commitment to timely payment of civil servant salaries. This was during the cluster's meeting in Juba yesterday. Lily Albino, the Deputy Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, says the government will ensure salaries are paid on 24th of every month as announced earlier. Lily says the economic cluster endorsed the call of the Vice President Benjamin Bolmel for enactment and an enhancement and management of tax collections, its digitizations and payment of salaries. She explains that the cluster will come up with a comprehensive report to be submitted to the councils of ministers this Friday. She adds that the government body resolved to undertake President Kiir's directive to enhance and improve agriculture this year. Lily spoke to the media after the economic cluster meeting yesterday.
The cluster also endorsed and approved the presentation by His Excellency, the chairperson of the cluster, in areas to do with enhancement and management of non-oil revenue collection and tax collections, the discipline in the area, as well as the digitization when it comes managing tax collections, and also payment of salaries. Due to the importance of all these topics that were discussed, the cluster also resolved to hold a meeting on Friday to come out with a more comprehensive report and submissions that will then be forwarded to the Council of Ministers for hopefully final endorsement and approval.
Last month, Vice President Bolmel has pledged to ensure that civil servants received their salaries on the 24th of each month. This commitment comes after civil servants and organized forces endured more than 10 months without salaries. This is iRadio News. Warab state government says the cholera crisis has been brought under control following a sharp increase of cases last month, which resulted in more than 40 cases and 13 deaths. Information Minister James Ayek Bath says the state has now gone for 1 week without reporting a case after a quick intervention from the state health workers. Ayek says several of cholera response centers have been set up to contain the outbreak through vaccination awareness campaigns.
The situation now has been reduced after the intervention of the medical doctors professionals from Warab State, who actually set up a cholera center in Darlington, across Warab State, to receive the people affected by the cholera for the treatment. So far, the reported cases of death have been reported. 13 people have actually passed on. The last reported deaths were 3 people. That was a week ago. There have been over 40 cases reported. The last case was reported last week. The administration of the vaccine is ongoing for the preventive measures against the victim of the cholera, and no more serious cases reported.
Minister Ayek cautions the public to adhere to hygiene and sanitation and avoid drinking river water to help prevent further spread of the disease. The official says the state is still running cholera vaccine campaigns as part of measures to end the outbreak.
The public are informed to keep hygiene and sanitation as part of the prevention mechanism to protect themselves from the spread of the cholera, and also to go for the field of the cholera prevention, for them to stay safe and free, and also to drink clean water from the tap, avoid water from the river, and yes, to report cases of the cholera that are still maybe detected in the community to the cholera center.
This is iRadio News, and now to the stories making headlines in the African region and beyond. We are joined by Sabit Patrick.
Several African nations are among the countries hit by sweeping tariffs announced by President Donald Trump on the U.S. global trading partners. Trump has announced a minimum 10% tariff on all imports to the U.S. and additional reciprocal tariff for 20 African countries, including 30% for South Africa. Other African countries hit by extra tariffs include 50% for Lesotho, 47% for Madagascar, 40% for Mauritius, and 37% for Botswana. Nigerian exports were hit too at 14%. Elsewhere, extreme heat and heavy rain in Myanmar could cause disease outbreak among earthquake survivors camping in the open, global aid bodies warned on Thursday. The body feared that these changes in weather might complicate rescue efforts that has already been made difficult by a civil war, as the death toll surpassed 3,000. Last Friday's 7.7 magnitude earthquake, one of Myanmar's strongest in a century, shook a region home to 28 million, toppling buildings such as hospitals, flattening communities, and leaving many without food, water, and shelter. Deaths rose to 3,085 on Thursday, with 4,715 injuries and 341 missing, the ruling junta said. And finally, China on Thursday urged the United States to immediately cancel its latest tariff and vowed countermeasures to safeguard its own interest. This came after President Donald Trump declared sweeping levies on all U.S. trading partners around the world. The U.S. move disregards the balance of interest reached in multilateral trade negotiations over the years and the fact that it has long benefited greatly from international trade, China's Commerce Ministry said in a statement. That's it from the region and internationally. Now back to you in the studio.
Thank you so much, Sabit Patrick, for international news. And now we're joined by Nathan William for sport updates.
In South Sudan Premier League at Juba National Stadium yesterday, Al Salam will secure a dominant 3-0 victory over Yale Lion Hunter, returning to winning form despite creating numerous chances. Lion Hunter failed to convert, allowing Al Salam to climb to 8th place with 20 points, while Lion Hunter remains in 10th place with 11 points. In today's match, Qatar Juba aim for a temporary lead in the standing as they face Young Star Tori. Qatar sit in second place with 33 points, just 2 points behind leaders Bamboo. Young Star Tori is in 12th point with 10 points and will look to improve their position. Elsewhere, the United Kingdom is set to host the 2035 Women's World Cup as the sole valid bidder for the tournament. FIFA President Gianni Infantino says England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland submits a joint expression of interest in March to hold the World Cup across the home nations. Under FIFA rotation rules, the tournament must be in Europe or Africa. In the Copa del Rey final, Barcelona will face rivals Real Madrid after Ferran Torres secured them a 1-0 win at Atlético Madrid on Wednesday, progressing 5-4 on aggregate from the semi-final tie. Record 31-time winners Barca had the better of the clash at the Metropolitano Stadium after the wild 4-4 first leg draw and defeat leaves Diego Simeone's Atlético with little to play for in the rest of the season. And finally, the Denver Nuggets' Nikola Jokic hit a career-high 61 points as he recorded the highest-scoring triple-double in NBA history. The Serb, a three-time MVV, claimed 10 rebounds and 10 assists in a 140-139 overtime defeat by the Minnesota Timberwolves at Ball Arena. The previous record was held by Nuggets teammates Russell Westbrook, who scored 57 points and made 30 rebounds, 11 assists for Oklahoma City Thunder in 2017. Westbrook, who joined the Nuggets in 2024, missed a layup with 10 seconds remaining in overtime, with the Nuggets leading 139-138. He then fooled Nickeils Alexander Walker into trying to block a three-point attempt with 0 to 1 second on the clock. That's all in the world of sport. And now back to you at Darlington.
Thanks, and that was Nyathong William for Sport Update. Now to end this bulletin, let's have the recaps on the top stories once again. Clashes between armed youth in Mayom and Abiam Nom, counties of Unity State and Ruweng Administrative Area, have resulted into the deaths of more than 30 people. A political analyst has warned that South Sudan risks sliding back into conflict if leaders fail to cooperate with the African Union Panel of the Wise, which is in Juba, to mediate the ongoing political crisis in the country. And Kenya's Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary says the country is receiving an average of 20 refugees per day from South Sudan since the escalations of the political tensions and conflict in the country. That's the end of iRadio Afternoon News. If there's a story or an event you'd like iRadio to cover or report about, please send us a text message on +211 925 287 870. It's also our WhatsApp number. Follow us on X at iRadio Juba, like our Facebook page, iRadio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at iRadio South Sudan. You can also visit our website and listen to us online at www.iradio.org. Stay tuned for news in Arabic at 1:30. I am Darlington Moses. Thanks for listening. And on behalf of the news working crew, join us to say happy birthday to Nyathong William. Bye-bye and enjoy